Habaim, welcome. Shalom.
Shalom.
It is so wonderful for all of us to gather on this historical evening. It is historical because, as you see, we are in our 100th year of this Interfaith Thanksgiving Gratitude Service, and we here at Congregation Ahavat Chesed are delighted and honored to welcome and host this year because it all began here at Temple with a vision 100 years ago by our own Rabbi Israel Kaplan. And so tonight we are here in honor of that to show how far that vision has gone and how far it will continue to go. This evening could not happen with a number of people I'd like to recognize now before our service begins. First of all, Nancy Bronner, our director of OneJax, as well as her staff, deserve a very large round of applause. They have worked tirelessly to put this together, and we are really in for a treat. I'd like to thank all of the members of the clergy of Jacksonville who are here to participate, as well as to be a part of this celebration. I'd like to thank Tommy Shepard and Jim Goodell, who are going to be leading our Interfaith Chorale in a beautiful and uplifting evening of music throughout our service. I'd like to thank my temple staff here. They have put an incredible amount of work, especially Goldie Lansky, our executive director, and all of the other folks behind the scenes who make this happen. At the end of the service, we are going to break bread together over some very delicious pastries from our Temple Sisterhood. And so I'd like to thank the Temple Sisterhood for providing what you will absolutely love. It is worth waiting around for, so don't leave in the middle of my sermon. You will not get the good stuff. And of course, I want to thank all of you, the members of our Jacksonville faith community, for coming together in this most important evening. I'd like to recognize that the mayor of Jacksonville has issued a proclamation recognizing this milestone in our interfaith community's history, and I'd like to read just a couple sentences from it. Jacksonville is blessed with a rich and diverse faith community that shares a commitment to serving the needs of others. As a diverse group of varying faiths gather for the 100th OneJax Interfaith Thanksgiving Gratitude Service on November 16th, we are reminded to celebrate humanity's shared values, including compassion, kindness, and gratitude. The theme of this year's service is Reasons for Hope, which represents the hope that so many citizens hold for their lives, the lives of our loved ones, and for their community. And therefore, I, Lenny Curry, I'm Rabbi Cohen, by the way, I'm not Lenny Curry, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of Jacksonville, Florida, do hereby honor and celebrate the 100th OneJax Interfaith Thanksgiving Gratitude Service. And so we are all very, very thankful to our mayor and to the city of Jacksonville for recognizing the important and sacred work that we are all doing together on this evening. I want to begin our service with a reading from our prayer book. May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship. May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture. May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. May this synagogue be, for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life.
3 times each day, Jews recite the Amidah prayer. It is at the core of each service. This is the 18th blessing from the Amidah, a blessing of gratitude and thanksgiving. When recited aloud, it is chanted different melodies depending on the service. This evening, I will chant it to the weekday melody, a reminder that gratitude is not a special occasion sentiment, but should be a part of the ordinary and the everyday. Modim anachnu lach, she'ata hu Adonai Eloheinu v'elahei avoteinu le'olam va'ed. Zur chayenu magen yishenu ata u'ledor v'ador. Nodeh lecha u'nesaper tfilatecha, al chayenu ha'mesurim biyadecha, li'al nishmotenu ha'pekudot lach, li'al nisechesh b'chol yom imanu, li'al nivdotecha v'tovotecha sheb'chol eit erev avokim v'tzohorayim. Hatov ki lo chal rachamecha, v'hamrachem ki utamu chasadecha, ve'alam kivinu lach. Al kulam yibarach v'tromam shimcha, malchenu tamid le'olam va'ed. V'chol ha'chaim yodu chaser lach, v'yalut shimcha b'yamet ha'el yeshuatenu v'ezratenu selah. Baruch ata Adonai, atov shimcha, u'lechanayel hodot. We acknowledge that you are the Lord our God and God of our ancestors throughout all time. You are the rock of our lives, the shield of our salvation in every generation. We thank you and praise you for our lives that are in your hand, for our souls that are in your charge, for your miracles that daily attend us, for your wonders and gifts that accompany us every evening, morning, and noon. You are good, your mercy everlasting. You are compassionate, your kindness never ending. We have always placed our hope in you. For all these blessings we shall ever praise and exalt you. May every living creature thank you and praise you faithfully, God of our deliverance and our help. Praised are you, Lord. How good is your name. How fitting it is to thank you.
Hope is like the sun, which as we journey towards it, casts the shadow of our burden behind us.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I would like to greet you with the greeting of Islam, with the greeting of peace. Peace be upon you all. May the blessings of Almighty God and His mercy be upon you.
Enlighten the eyes by the vision of these radiant lights, and make the ears joyful through the anthems of thy call to service. O God, verily, we have gathered here in the fragrance of thy love. We have turned to thy kingdom. We seek naught save thee, and desire nothing save thy good pleasure. O God, let this food be thy manna from heaven, and grant that this assemblage may be a concourse of thy supreme ones. May they be the quickening cause of love to humanity and the source of illumination to the human race. May they be the instruments of thy guidance upon earth. Verily, thou art powerful, thou art the bestower, thou art the forgiver, and thou art the Almighty.
Love recognizes no barriers. It jumps hurdles, leaps fences, penetrates walls to arrive at its destination full of hope. Maya Angelou.
A reading the letter of St. Paul to the Philippians, chapter 4, verses 4 through 8. Rejoice in the Lord always. Again I will say rejoice. Let your gentle spirit be known to all men. The Lord is near. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God, and the peace of God, which surpasses all comprehension, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Finally, brethren, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is good repute, if there is any excellence, and if anything worthy of praise, dwell on these things.
Psalm 145, verses 2 to 11. And we're going to respond when we say, I will praise your name forever, Lord. I will praise your name forever, Lord. Every day will I bless you, and I will praise your name forever and ever. Great is the Lord, and highly to be praised. His greatness is unsearchable. I will praise your name forever, Lord. Generation after generation praises your works and proclaims your might. They speak of the splendor of your glorious majesty and tell of your wondrous works. I will praise your name forever, Lord. They discourse of the power of your terrible deeds and declare your greatness. They publish the fame of your abundant goodness and joyfully sing of your justice. I will praise your name forever, Lord. The Lord is gracious and merciful, slow to anger, and of great kindness. The Lord is good to all, and compassionate toward all his works. I will praise your name forever, Lord. Let all your works give you thanks, O Lord, and let your faithful ones bless you. Let them discourse of your glory, of your kingdom, and speak of your might. I will praise your name forever, Lord.
Hope is the thing with feathers that purchasing the soul, the same food, dark words, and never stops at all.
Gracious God, seeds were planted 100 years ago by a local rabbi and preacher to cultivate higher understanding, harmony, humility, and love in Jacksonville. Right now, we give thanks that as we gather here tonight, we can see the fruits of those seeds. We are delighted to know that our interfaith gatherings continue to plant new seeds to show faith and bear fruits of love and vision. As we come together, heart and hand, unite us as one, so that we may carry out your good works together, not divided in any way, but together as a team. God, we know that at this tender time, so many are hurting from the effects of injustice and not being seen, heard, or valued. You are the liberty that frees the bonds of those that are emotionally, spiritually, and physically wounded. Thank you for comforting the grieving with the healing balm of your love. God, you have empowered us to compassionately tell the truth. Teach us to put feet on prayers that lead to action, which will bring honor to you, your people, and your world. We are grateful for the women and men that are serving in our armed forces in this country and all over the world. Bless each one when they are afraid, anxious, and missing the safety and comfort of their homes and loved ones. May you guide our local, state, and national leaders towards clarity. We see them as lighthouses, keeping the high watch, and blessed in every way. Thank you for encouraging us to step up to even greater service with peace ask your guidance here tonight. Help us in our deepest need. Lord, hear our prayers, and together we say,
We have gathered here today to sing a prayer from our faith in which we thank God. Sikhism's way of saying thanks to God is, I don't have anything of my own. It's all yours. Everything we have, this life, this body, and every breath that we take is His blessing. Therefore, according to Sikhism, the best way to thank God or Vaheguru is never to forget Him and to surrender to Him. Please join us for this beautiful prayer from our holy book, Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. In the first part, we pray to Lord that we may never forget Him, and in the second part, we surrender to Him. It is also a very powerful mantra used in Kundalini yoga. So kyun bisre jin sab kich diya, so kyun bisre jin jeevan jiya, so kyun bisre jin sab kich diya, so kyun bisre
Namaste, saluting the divinity in every one of you. I'm going to do the sacred chantings from the sacred scriptures of Holy Vedas, which is for universal peace and for prosperity of the entire globe. Let me begin with the chantings. Hari Om Bhadram Ganne Vishnuyama Devaha Bhadram Vashyemakshabhiryajatraha Sthirairangai Stushtuvaram Sastanubihi Vishema Devahitam Yadayuhu Swasti na Indra Vruddhashavaha Swasti na Pusha Vishwamedaha Swasti nastarchyo arishtanemihi Swasti no brigaspatir dadatu Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi Om Shanno Mitra Samvarunaha Shanno Bhavat Paryamam Shanna Indro Brigaspatihi Shanno Vishnururkramaha Namo Brahmane Namaste Vayu Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahmasi Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahma Vadishyami Ridam Vadishyami Satyam Vadishyami Tanmavatu Tadbhaktaram Avatu Avatu Mam Avatu Bhaktaram Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi Om Bhuvassuvaha Tatsavidurvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonaha Prachodayat Om Agnena Yassuvadha Raje Asman Vishwani Deva Vayunani Vidwan Yodyasmadruhurana Menam Bhujishtante Namabhuktim Vidhema Om Madhupatarudayate Madhuksharanti Sindavaha Madvirnastvandoshadihi Madhunaktamudoshasi Madhumatpartivagam Rajaha Madhutyaurastunapita Madhumanno Vanaspatir Madhumagamastu Suryaha Madvirgamo Bhavantunaha Om Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkhavag Bhavet Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi Harihi Om.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I invite you to join me in this responsive reading by reciting the refrain, "We give thanks this day." For the expanding grandeur of creation, worlds known and unknown, galaxies beyond galaxies, filling us with awe and challenging our imaginations. We give thanks this day. For this fragile planet Earth, its times and tides, its sunsets and seasons. We give thanks this day. For the joy of human life, its wonders and surprises, its hopes and achievements. We give thanks this day. For our human community, our common past and future hope, our oneness transcending all separation, our capacity to work for peace and justice in the midst of hostility and oppression. We give thanks this day. For high hopes and noble causes, for faith without fanaticism, for understanding of views not shared. We give thanks this day. for all who have labored and suffered for a fairer world, who have lived so that others might live in dignity and freedom.
We give thanks this day.
For human liberty and sacred rights, for opportunities to change and grow, to affirm and choose.
We give thanks this day.
We give thanks this day. We pray that we may live not by our fears, but by our hopes, not by our words, but by our deeds.
Human compassion binds us one to the other, not in pity or patronizingly, but as human beings who have learned how to turn our common suffering into hope for the future.
From the Odu Ifa Orete, Otura Irete, Kashe Ope, Moni, Kashe Ope, Kasope, 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 Defafun Orumina, Babano Re Dupe Ore Anya, O Kioleba Re Ire Toniba, Orumina, Mowa Dupe Ore Temi, Diabashe Midi Ore, Ope Anda, Mowa Dupe Temi. This verse from Odu Ifa Otura Irete says that Ifa recommends gratitude. I say, show gratitude. Gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. Divine for Owumela. Father, the wise one, who went back to his benefactors and thanked them, so that he may receive future gifts. Owumela, I have come to register my gratitude. When one is done a favor, one receives a favor. Thank you is what we say. We should show gratitude.
Yesterday is but a dream, tomorrow is only a vision, but today well lived makes every yesterday a dream of happiness, and every tomorrow a vision of hope.
Once again, I want to welcome all of you to Congregation Nahavat Chesed, and how blessed we are to be here on this special evening, on this historical milestone. But in order to understand the significance of this historical milestone in our community, we must understand the context in which it was created. You are in a Reformed congregation. It is a denomination of Judaism, and Reformed Judaism was born out of emancipation in Europe in the late 1700s, early 1800s, the Jews of Europe were able to be free, to live amongst the non-Jews in the society, because up to that point, Jews always lived separate from the society, having their own cultures, their own traditions, their own ways of life, their own governance. And yet with this enlightenment, it showed that Jews can live freely and practice freely within the community. And so Reformed Judaism was born out of a universal hope for humanity and equality. Reformed Judaism focused on what brought us together rather than what separated us. And Reformed Judaism made its way into America in the 1800s, the mid to late 1800s. And as Reformed Judaism began to take shape here in our country, we needed to figure out who are we and what do we stand for. And so a number of rabbis and leaders in the Reform movement got together in Pittsburgh in 1885 and came up with this platform, and I'm going to read just a snippet from it. It says that we acknowledge, that the spirit of broad humanity of our age is our ally in the fulfillment of our mission, and therefore we extend the hand of fellowship to all who cooperate with us in the establishment of the reign of truth and righteousness among men. It should therefore come as no surprise that Rabbi Israel Kaplan in 1917 fulfilled that mission by extending his hand to the Unitarian Church in fellowship in order to observe the armistice in worship and prayer, thus beginning the relationships between the Jewish community and the interfaith community that has led to this day, not just Jews and Christians, but as we have witnessed this evening, people of all faiths in our community. 100 years later, 100 years later from the beginning of Reformed Judaism in 1976, that being in the 20th century, there was a need for reevaluation for who we are and what we stand for. Because the early reformers never saw the Holocaust happening. They never could have predicted it. And the Shoah, the Holocaust, crushed the early Reformed vision for universalism and hope in humanity. The Shoah made us realize that the world has changed and emancipation may have been yet a fleeting moment in time. There was a new reality, the reality that we needed to take care of ourselves. And so in 1976, the rabbis reconvened for a centennial perspective. And I want to read what they wrote. Early Reformed Jews newly admitted to general society and seeing in this the evidence of a growing universalism, regularly spoke of Jewish purpose in terms of Jewry's service to humanity. In recent years, we have become freshly conscious of the virtues of pluralism and the values of particularism. The Jewish people in its unique way of life validates its own worthwhile, working toward the fulfillment of its messianic expectations. Until the recent past, our obligations to the Jewish people and to all humanity seemed congruent. At times now, these two imperatives appear to conflict. We know of no simple way to resolve such tensions. We must, however, confront them without abandoning either of our commitments. A universal concern for humanity, unaccompanied by a devotion to our particular people, is self-destructive. A passion for our people, without involvement in humankind, contradicts what the prophets have meant to us. Judaism calls us to simultaneously to universal and particular obligations. It is remarkable that despite the horrors of the Shoah, the devastation of 6 million Jews in Europe, as well as 6 million people of other faiths, we are still here, 100 years later. Not 100 years later from the beginning of our Reform movement, but 100 years later from when Rabbi Israel Kaplan reached out in fellowship to make this happen. Despite the horrors that have faced our people, as well as many of us in this room in different faiths, that our vision of hope and fellowship, of taking care of each other and the world around us, is alive and well. But this vision, this mission does not date back to the 20th century or even the 19th century. It dates back to the 2nd century of the Common Era, in which we find the foundational teachings of this vision in our rabbinic writings. Rabbi Hillel wrote in the Mishnah, a rabbinic writing from the Ethics of the Fathers, if I am not for myself, who is for me? And when I am for myself, what am I? And if not now, when? In other words, we learn that we can't take care of one without the other. We can't take care of ourselves and not take care of other people, and we can't take care of other people and not take care of ourselves. That same message has been the constant, not just in our Reformed values that we found in the 1800s, but rather throughout all of our Jewish existence. It is what we stand for, and it is why we are here. 2,000 years later, in the 21st century, Hillel's teaching speaks to all of us, not just Jews, all of us today. The world changes around us constantly, and it seems, perhaps to many of us, that the world is crumbling around us. The fact is, this gathering here tonight gives me and should give all of us hope for a bright and promising future. The violence and hatred in the world today and throughout our history is stemmed by people who would rather focus on what makes us different from one another rather than what makes us similar. Tonight we are celebrating our similarities. We are celebrating our faiths that call all of us to come together as one, to respect one another, to respect each other's faith, even if our faith is different than someone else's. It is moments like these that remind us of our obligation to each other and to the world around us, to be thankful for the blessings of our community. But it goes further than just being thankful, because that call to spread the word and the deeds of our faith is what makes the world more whole and at peace. The acts of compassion that our faith calls us to do. This is what Hillel meant when he said, if not now, when? I'd like to conclude this with the following prayer from the prayer book that guided and inspired rabbis such as Rabbi Israel Kaplan. A prayer book that was written in the late 19th and early 20th century. This is a prayer that I believe speaks to us all. Almighty and merciful God, thou hast called Israel to thy service and found him worthy to bear witness unto thy truth among thy peoples of the earth. Give us grace to fulfill this mission with zeal, tempered by wisdom and guided by regard for other men's faith. May our life prove the strength of our own belief in the truths we proclaim. May our bearing toward our neighbors, our faithfulness in every sphere of duty, our compassion for the suffering and our patience under trial show that he whose law we obey is indeed the God of all goodness, the Father of all men, that to serve him is perfect freedom, and to worship him the soul's purest happiness. O Lord, open our eyes that we may see and welcome all truth, whether shining from the annals of ancient revelations or reaching us through the seers of our own time. For thou hidest not thy light from any generation of thy children that yearn for thee and seek thy guidance. Let us then, O Lord, be just and great-hearted in our dealings with our fellow men, sharing with them the fruit of our common labor, acknowledging before thee that we are but stewards of whatever we possess. Help us to be among those who are willing to sacrifice that others may not hunger, who dare to be bearers of light in the dark loneliness of stricken lives, who struggle and even bleed for the triumph of righteousness among men. So may we be co-workers with thee in the building of thy kingdom, which has been our vision and goal through the ages. Amen.
Beloved friends, brothers and sisters of our Jacksonville Interfaith community, at this point in our service, we're going to put our faith into action. And so we are going to bring and offer the gifts that are going to be, that we pray, are going to be helpful in the nourishment of those who are without. And so as members of our OneJax board, along with our senior advisory council, are in the rear of this blessed and sanctified temple, we will be having some music being played, and then we will all come together and pray as one interfaith Jacksonville family over the gifts that are going to be offered. We are one family. So I ask that you just join with me as we say a special blessing upon these gifts. If you'd like, just simply bow your heads and just pray with me. O Creator and the author of our life and our salvation, we just come here tonight to do what we should be doing every single day. Just simply thank you. We thank you that you have blessed us to live in this nation that allows us to have these opportunities for us to come together as an interfaith community as one. We thank you for the great work of OneJax. We thank you for the amazing wisdom and vision of Rabbi Israel Kaplan. We thank for our friends and our family that are gathered here, because we are all one family. And as we are here this evening, we ask you, O Heavenly Creator, to send down your blessings upon these gifts that are offered before you. Let it not just be a nourishment for the bodies of those who are in need who will partake of it, but let it be a reminder that you are love, and that you yearn to shower us with your love and your compassion and your generosity, and that you have them in the palm of their hands. And finally, as we leave here this evening, equip, empower, and enable each and every one of us not to just make this night simply a day on our calendar where we just simply say thank you to you, O Creator, but that we make it now a way of life. That when we see those in need, we see you. That we become lights of hope, lights of tolerance, and lights of compassion. That we become one Jacksonville Interfaith family. In your holy name we pray, amen. Amen.
For 100 years, people like you and me have come to this service, and it's given us a reason for hope. It causes us to hope that truly we can be different together in a world that tells us to be different means to be separate. And we know that our work calls us far past this night into this community that we love. So I'm a Baptist minister. And you know, as a Baptist minister, I'm going to ask you to do 3 things. Because Baptists think in threes. Number one. What we do here is so desperately needed in our community and in our world. I don't think I have to convince you of that. The need for OneJax is as close as the front page of the Florida Times-Union, it seems, each and every day. The work is there. And every day, every week, our OneJax staff has someone come to them and say, wouldn't it be great if? And 99.9% of those wouldn't it be great ifs are great. It's not a matter of the work that should be or could be done. It's a matter of capacity. We need you to give, and give generously. Our world needs it. Our community needs it. Please go to OneJax.org, and you will find an opportunity and a way that you can become a member of this wonderful organization. Please give, and give generously. Number 2, celebrating 100 years of this Interfaith Gratitude Service, I would suggest that you look at the 100 acts of kindness. We want to, in a very tangible way, take what we have experienced here and do acts of kindness in our community. Here's something you can do. As you go to the reception in just a moment, there are buckets that you will find, and you can draw out a number, and that number, of course, coincides with an act of kindness, but we need some accountability here. So why don't you and a really good friend that is with you in this service go together, each of you pull out a number, hold each other accountable. Have you done your act of kindness, you could say? And then you want to post it on social media. You find all of the opportunities there. Let's show our community that this hour and 15 minutes that we spend together really does make a difference. Go out and do an act of kindness. Hold one another accountable. And then finally, pay special attention to number 30 on your 100 acts of kindness. One of our friends and partners in this community, OneJax, is celebrating its 30th anniversary of providing quality housing for our friends and neighbors. And in celebration of their 30th anniversary,
OneJax is going back to its beginnings. It began as a faith and interfaith work, and we're going to build an interfaith house together. You will find opportunities to sign up again in the reception that we're all going to enjoy in a moment. We will be getting word out to you, but what a picture it will be beginning March 2018 when we gather together and build a home to show again that there are many reasons of hope from the interfaith community in this great city. Thank you.
And now, full of the love that unites us, comforted by the Spirit that is beyond us, and overflowing with gratitude for the blessings that surround us, let us go from this place, ready and able to share that love, that spirit, that gratitude with this community and with a world so much in need. May God bless you all, and all the faithful people in the place said, Amen. Will y'all stand as you're able? The clergy folks are going to fill the aisle, and let's lift a hand